There are 10 items Harbor Freight employees quietly beg you not to buy, and once you hear why, you'll realize you've been seeing this store all wrong. And that truth is this: some of the cheapest tools come with hidden consequences you won't notice until it's too late. If that surprises you, it should, because it means the perspective you've trusted, the one that made you feel clever for spotting deals, has been quietly steering you into traps. Today, we're pulling back the curtain and showing you the list employees wish every shopper understood before grabbing. So, let's start with the first item. Item 1. The disposable angle grinder. Let's talk about the first item employees quietly dread, the ultra-cheap angle grinder. At first glance, it looks like a steel, sleek, metallic, and light in your hand. It practically begs you to throw it in your cart. Every shopper feels that rush of excitement, the little thrill of thinking, I'm about to get serious work done without spending serious money. But here's the problem. Looks can be deceiving, and in the case of this grinder, the charm is only skin deep. Employees have seen it countless times. Someone buys it, eager to grind, cut, or polish. Within minutes, the motor starts whining, sparks fly, brushes burn out, and suddenly, that sleek little tool becomes a smoking, useless paperweight. You think you're just unlucky. You think you misused it. But the reality? The tool was never meant to survive anything more than a hobby-level job. And while you were congratulating yourself for getting a bargain, employees were silently cringing, knowing the return line is waiting for this exact disaster. This angle grinder isn't dangerous if you treat it lightly, but as soon as you push it past its limits, it fails, dramatically and often unpredictably. That's why employees beg people to skip it. They want you to know that a cheap grinder is only cheap until it breaks at the worst possible moment, leaving you frustrated, burned, and sometimes even at risk. Instead, the advice whispered behind the shelves: spend a little more on a mid-tier grinder that actually lasts. Your hands, your time, and your nerves will thank you. And if you think that was bad, the next item is silent until it suddenly drops your car, and then everyone in the garage wishes they had listened. Item 2, the undersized floor jack that lies to you. Next up is one of the most dangerous items on this list, the 1.5 to 2 ton low-profile floor jack. It looks solid, sturdy, even professional, and it promises to lift your car like a champ. Every shopper sees the ton rating and assumes it's enough. I've got this, you think, feeling confident you've just scored a bargain. But employees see a different story. They watch customers unknowingly overload it, lift vehicles with the wrong weight distribution, and push the limits of a tool that simply wasn't built for the job. Hydraulic leaks, sudden drops, slow sinking, the failures are dramatic, terrifying, and completely preventable. And the shocking part, you thought you were being smart, thinking ton ratings are interchangeable. You assumed this was a safe, reliable tool, and that's exactly the misconception that puts people at risk. The truth is simple. This jack can work for very light, careful lifting, but the moment you push it anywhere near a real workload, it betrays you. That sinking feeling, the sudden collapse. That's why employees plead with customers to skip it entirely. Investing a little more in a stronger, higher quality jack isn't just smart. It's the difference between finishing a job safely and facing disaster. And if you thought a faulty jack was scary, wait until you see the next item. It looks harmless, but it snaps under pressure faster than you could ever imagine. Item 3, the fragile drill bit sets. Now, let's talk about something almost every DIY shopper has been tempted by: the massive drill bit set that promises endless possibilities for just a few dollars. The moment you see dozens of shiny bits neatly packed in their plastic case, it's easy to feel like a hero, like you've unlocked the secret to tackling every project in your garage without spending a fortune. You convince yourself, I'm getting insane value for almost nothing, and for a few brief seconds, it feels true. But here's the reality employees witness every single day. You take that new bit, line it up perfectly with a piece of wood or metal, apply pressure, and it snaps. Sometimes it curls, sometimes the tip shears off entirely. Your precision work turns into frustration. Your excitement turns into regret. You assume it's user error, thinking, I must be doing something wrong. But the truth is far more inconvenient. These bits were never built to survive more than the lightest, most casual use. They aren't just fragile, they're almost disposable, masquerading as professional tools. Employees cringe when they see someone buy one of these sets. They know exactly how this story ends. The bits break, the customer comes back, the return line swells. Sometimes the damage happens within minutes, sometimes after a single small project, but the result is always the same: disappointment, frustration, and a tiny sting of embarrassment. And the worst part? Most shoppers don't even realize how predictable this failure is. They've been tricked into believing that low price equals high value, and for a moment, it works until reality strikes, and the emotional hit goes deeper. Because it's not just about snapped metal. It's about that sinking feeling when your confidence as a DIYer takes a hit. You feel like you failed, when in fact you were never set up to succeed with this tool. Employees watch silently, wishing they could hand every customer a gentle warning. These aren't tools that build projects. These are tools that break them. The solution is simple, but it requires spending a little more money and a lot less ego. Mid-tier drill bit sets, or even quality brand bits, don't just survive a real project. They make it a pleasure. They cut cleanly, last longer, and restore confidence rather than crushing it. Your time, your effort, and your pride are worth far more than the few dollars saved on a shiny, fragile set. And if you think snapping bits are frustrating, wait until you see the next item. It promises to fix anything, but in reality, it melts under pressure in a way that will leave you speechless and questioning everything you thought you knew about Harbor Freight. Item 4. The illusion of the plastic welder. Next, we have a tool that almost every shopper dreams will solve every problem in their garage: the plastic welder. On the shelf, it looks magical. The box promises repairs, fixes, and restorations, almost like it can breathe new life into broken plastic. You pick it up, imagining yourself repairing bumpers, cracked crates, even a broken tool handle. You feel confident. You feel clever. You feel like you've just discovered a secret weapon that will turn your weekend projects into masterpieces. But here's where the illusion shatters. Employees have seen this scenario play out hundreds of times. Hopeful customers bring the tool home, eagerly preparing to fix what they thought was broken beyond repair. Within minutes, the tool betrays them. Heat is uneven, plastic warps, melted blobs stick where they shouldn't, and seams that were supposed to hold snap apart with the slightest pressure. What looked like a miracle in the box becomes a nightmare of frustration, wasted materials, and crushed expectations. And here's the kicker. Shoppers often assume it's their fault. "I didn't use it right," they say. "I must have done something wrong." But the truth is far less flattering. This cheap plastic welder was never designed to deliver professional results. It's inconsistent, underpowered, and extremely easy to misuse without realizing it. Employees watch in quiet dread as customers wrestle with it, knowing the same mistakes will happen again and again. It's not just about failure, it's about the emotional toll. Every failed repair chips away at your confidence, makes you second-guess your skills, and leaves you questioning the value of your purchases. This isn't a simple tool that breaks. It's a tool that tricks you into thinking it can perform miracles, only to humiliate you when it doesn't. Employees whisper warnings behind the shelves because they've seen the heartbreak countless times. Plastic welders aren't magic. They're a trap for the hopeful, the eager, and the unsuspecting. The payoff is blunt but necessary. If you buy this expecting perfection, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. The real solution? Skip the cheap plastic welder entirely. Or, if you insist on fixing plastics, invest in proper heat guns and welding rods that give you control, precision, and reliability. That's the difference between a gimmick and a tool that actually earns your trust. And if you thought that was frustrating, the next item quietly hums along in your car, in your bag, in your toolbox until it suddenly dies, leaving your electronics powerless and your weekend plans completely derailed. Item 5. The weak power inverter. Next on the list is a tool that seems like a miracle in a box: the cheap power inverter. It promises freedom, the ability to plug in your laptop, charge your phone, or even run small appliances directly from your car. On the shelf, it looks sleek, simple, and harmless. You imagine taking it on camping trips, road trips, or emergencies, feeling smart and prepared. It's one of those purchases that feels like you've just outsmarted the system. You feel clever, you feel ready, you feel unstoppable. But here's the reality. Employees see behind the counter. The moment someone actually relies on it, it fails. Sometimes silently, sometimes with sparks. The wattage isn't what it claims. The fuses blow, phones overheat, laptops shut down mid-use. That quiet confidence you had walking to the register evaporates in frustration and disbelief. Customers often assume they did something wrong, blaming themselves for a failure they couldn't prevent. But the truth, the tool was never meant to handle anything substantial. It's a shiny promise hiding a predictable disaster. Employees watch this happen constantly. They see people trusting the inverter for real power needs, and they know exactly how it will end. Disappointment, wasted time, and a lingering frustration that sticks with you long after the tool is gone. Most shoppers are completely unaware. They think they're buying freedom, but in reality, they're buying a lesson the hard way. The payoff is clear. This isn't a tool to gamble with your electronics or your weekend plans. Spend a little more or stick to inverters designed for real output. That extra investment isn't just money spent, it's frustration saved and confidence gained. Employees quietly beg people to recognize the danger before plugging in. And if you think sudden electrical failure is bad, the next item doesn't just hum or spark, it whines, overheats, and stops you dead in your tracks, leaving your patience frayed and your plans crumbling. If you're finding this list eye-opening so far, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. There's more insider truth coming, and you don't want to miss what's next. Item 6. The Overheating Mini Air Compressor. Next up is one of those tools that looks harmless, almost cute, the mini air compressor. At first glance, it seems perfect. Small, portable, inexpensive, ready to inflate tires, sports equipment, or air mattresses. You pick it up and think, this will be a lifesaver for emergencies, imagining quick fixes and convenience whenever you need it. You feel smart, prepared, in control, like a hero ready to tackle any small emergency. But employees know the truth, and it's a truth that can ruin your weekend faster than any other tool on this list. The moment you plug it in, it whines like it's begging for mercy. The motor heats up, airflow slows to a crawl, and what should take minutes can take 30, 40, even 60 excruciating minutes. And if you push it too hard, it shuts down completely, leaving you waiting for it to cool, sweating over a tire that refuses to fill. Shoppers often blame themselves. I must have hooked it up wrong, or maybe I overestimated its power. But the reality is harsher. This compressor was never designed for anything beyond the most casual tasks. It's a toy, masquerading as a tool, a tiny promise of convenience that collapses under real work. Employees cringe silently, knowing exactly how the story ends. Returned, exchanged, complaints filed, and frustration mounting. The emotional cost is worse than the practical one. Every failure chips away at your confidence as a DIYer. Every wasted minute feels like the tool is mocking you, reminding you that sometimes the cheapest option isn't a bargain, it's a trap. And in the middle of an emergency, that betrayal becomes terrifying, stressful, and utterly avoidable. The payoff is simple but brutal. Mini compressors are not built for serious work. They're for inflating toys, light sports balls, or tiny household items. Anything heavier will push them beyond their limits. Employees advise either investing in a full-sized, reliable compressor or accepting the slow, limited reality of these mini versions. Nothing ruins a project faster than a tool that screams, overheats, and dies when you need it most. And if you think an overheating motor is bad, the next item doesn't just fail quietly, it shreds, crumbles, and forces you to rethink every bargain you've ever trusted at Harbor Freight. Item 7. The ultra-cheap blue tarps. On the list are those iconic Harbor Freight blue tarps. You've seen them hanging from shelves, waving in the breeze, practically calling out, "Buy me, protect everything cheaply." At first glance, they seem like a dream. Waterproof, lightweight, versatile, and almost comically inexpensive. You imagine covering your car, shielding firewood, or keeping the backyard equipment dry. It feels like you've scored an unbeatable bargain, the kind that makes you proud and convinced you've outsmarted the system. But employees see a very different reality. These tarps are fragile, thin, and prone to tearing at the slightest stress. The grommets are weak, often ripping out the first time you tie them down. UV rays attack them mercilessly, leaving shredded, faded plastic after just a few weeks of sun exposure. What looks like a steal on the shelf quickly turns into a small disaster in the real world. And yet, every customer feels that surge of pride and smug satisfaction, unaware that their investment is silently failing them. the tension escalates when you actually try to use it. A gust of wind catches the tarp, rips it down the middle, and suddenly the very thing you trusted to protect your belongings becomes the source of chaos. Water leaks through holes you didn't notice. Your car, woodpile, or outdoor furniture is left exposed. Employees watch silently, knowing exactly how often these tarps come back as returns, torn, folded, or abandoned, while the customer mutters in frustration at what seemed like a good idea at the time. The emotional cost is just as harsh as the practical one. Every failed tarp is a blow to your confidence as a shopper. You thought you had found a clever bargain, only to realize you've been tricked by price alone. Cheap doesn't always mean smart, and employees quietly wish every customer understood that a tiny bit more investment up front could save hours of headaches, ruined projects, and frustration. The payoff is clear. These tarps are designed to be temporary, disposable, and cheap. They are perfect for toys, short-term covers, or emergencies, but anything heavier, windier, or longer lasting, and they betray you instantly. Spend a little more on quality tarps, or accept that the Harbor Freight version will likely fail exactly when you need it most. And if you think fragile tarps are frustrating, the next item doesn't just tear, it crumbles completely under pressure, leaving your projects in ruins and forcing you to question every bargain you've ever trusted at Harbor Freight. Item 8. The dull wood chisels. Next up are the wood chisels, seemingly harmless, classic tools that promise precision, control, and craftsmanship. You pick them up, admire the shiny metal, perfectly molded handles, and imagine yourself carving, shaping, and creating with the skill of a master. They feel solid, professional, and cheap enough to make you think you're getting an incredible deal. You leave the store with confidence, convinced your projects will now look flawless. But employees know the harsh truth. These chisels are dull, straight out of the package. The edges barely cut, let alone slice cleanly through wood. Attempting a precise cut becomes a battle. The chisel slips, tears the wood, or chips the grain instead of cutting smoothly. You think it's your technique, that you're not pressing correctly, or that you need to warm up. But the real problem is simple. The tool is poorly made and under-sharpened, setting you up for frustration before you even begin. The tension mounts as you try to complete a project. Hours are wasted, sanding, recutting, and trying to force a poor tool to do a job it cannot do. A hobby that should be enjoyable becomes a lesson in irritation and wasted effort. Employees watch this scenario countless times and silently groan, knowing that this avoidable frustration is part of the predictable cycle of cheap tools sold as bargains. The payoff is brutal. These chisels will never perform to the level you expect. They are a disappointment disguised as a deal. Investing in mid-tier chisels or sharpening high-quality alternatives is not optional. It's the difference between satisfaction and wasted time, effort, and confidence. Employees quietly wish every shopper knew this before reaching for the bargain set. And if you think dull chisels are annoying, the next item doesn't just fail to cut, it twists, snaps, and leaves you questioning every cheap power tool purchase you've ever made at Harbor Freight. Item 9. The twisting screwdriver sets. Next, let's talk about the screwdriver sets that look like a steel, sleek handles, a dozen shiny tips, and the promise that every screw in your house, garage, or workshop can be tackled with ease. You pick up the set, imagining yourself fixing, building, and assembling with precision. It feels like the tool that will finally make you a master of every project. But employees know the truth. These screwdrivers twist, bend, or break under the slightest pressure. Apply any real torque, and the tips strip screws or snap entirely. The plastic handles can flex, the metal shafts are too soft, and suddenly, the tool you trusted becomes the problem. You might blame yourself that you're applying too much force or using it wrong, but the real issue is the tool itself. It's cheap, under-engineered, and designed more to look impressive than to actually perform. The tension escalates as you attempt a task. Screws strip mid-project, assemblies fail, and what should have been a simple fix turns into hours of frustration. Employees cringe silently in these moments, knowing the inevitable returns and complaints that will follow. They've seen countless customers get burned by these so-called bargains, and they wish they could hand out a warning label. Looks good, works poorly. The payoff is clear. These screwdriver sets are not reliable for serious work. For durability, strength, and real precision, you need mid-tier or professional-grade tools. Investing a little more prevents stripped screws, wasted time, and the embarrassment of a job gone wrong. Employees beg customers to see beyond the shiny metal and plastics, because the cheapest option is almost always the most frustrating. And if you think bent and stripped screwdrivers are annoying, the next and final item doesn't just fail, it destroys, leaving you helpless in the middle of a critical project and questioning every Harbor Freight deal you've ever chased. Item 10, the catastrophic multi-tool. Finally, we reach the last item on the list, the multi-tool that promises to do everything, yet fails at almost everything. You see it on the shelf, compact, shiny, and full of functions: pliers, knives, screwdrivers, scissors, and more. It feels like the ultimate bargain, the all-in-one solution to every problem you've ever faced. You imagine carrying it everywhere, ready to tackle any task with confidence and pride. But employees know the dark truth. Every tool in this set is under-engineered. Pliers bend, knives dull instantly, screws strip, scissors jam, all at the worst possible moment. And the compact design that seemed convenient, it often makes the tool awkward, uncomfortable, and dangerous to use. A miracle tool in the packaging turns into a nightmare in your hands, sabotaging every project you thought it would solve. The tension hits its peak when a customer tries to rely on it in a real task. Maybe it's tightening a bolt, slicing a rope, or cutting a piece of wood. The tool fails spectacularly, sometimes snapping entirely or leaving the user scrambling with nothing but regret. Employees see this happen constantly, silently shaking their heads, wishing they could warn everyone to avoid the trap. The payoff is devastating. This multi-tool is not a solution. It's a lesson in false promises. It's cheap, flashy, and designed to look useful while offering almost no reliability. Investing in high-quality, purpose-built tools will save you frustration, time, and confidence, the very things Harbor Freight's multi-tool quietly robs from every unsuspecting shopper. And here's the twist that brings it all together. Every single item on this list shares the same story. They look like bargains. They feel like smart choices. But in the hands of someone who expects reliability, they fail. Employees aren't trying to scare you for fun. They beg you to skip these items because they've seen the predictable heartbreak, the wasted money, and the shattered confidence that follows. So the next time you walk down those aisles, remember this list. The cheap price isn't a victory. It's a warning. Choose wisely, invest smartly, and avoid the traps employees have been quietly trying to tell you about all along. And if this video helped you see Harbor Freight in a whole new light, hit like, subscribe, and stick around for more insider secrets. Because the truth about bargains is often far more dramatic than it seems.